Hello, I'm Brother Taylor, and today I'd like to talk to you about the verbe avoir, the verb to have, really. Don't forget how important some of these verbs are. The verb être and avoir are so important I can't even begin to tell you. The verb avoir is probably number one, could be number two in terms of the most used verb. Être is used a ton, so is avoir. Make sure you practice writing these verbs out a lot. Write them over and over again. It should only take a few times before you can write it out perfectly. But don't forget the importance of being able to conjugate these verbs. So the verb avoir, let's conjugate it. J'ai, tu as, il a, elle a, on a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont. So notice here we have kind of a liaison, what we call a kind of a tie. Ils ont, elles ont, because you have this subject consonant next to a vowel. Let's do it one more time. J'ai, tu as, il a, elle a, on a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont, elles ont. So j'ai means I have, tu as, you have, il a, he has, elle a, she has, on a, we have, nous avons, we have, vous avez, you have, ils ont, elles ont. They have, guys and girls, or guys, elles ont, all girls. The verb avoir is quite often used with indefinite articles. Could be definite as well, but just one thing about avoir is, for example, I have a brother, j'ai un frère. I don't have a brother is je n'ai pas de frère. Notice, according to our table here, if you have a negative phrase that was positive this way, it would be negative this way. And don't forget, the table is almost always right. In fact, I try to tell my students the table is always right. If it's a question between what you think and the table thinks, and the table is different, choose the table. Okay? So for example, I have a sister, j'ai une sœur. I don't have a sister, je n'ai pas, right here, je n'ai pas negative, je n'ai pas de sœur. Okay? I have some apples, j'ai des pommes. I don't have any apples, je n'ai pas de pommes. So it's de, whether it's masculine, feminine, or plural. So it's pretty easy if you are negating it. You just have to remember the de part. So for example, tu as des cousins? Do you have cousins? I don't have any cousins. Non, je n'ai pas de cousins. Notice the de here, because again, the de is the negation of de, right? See that? So it's de if it's singular or plural. Okay, notice here, if even if it's singular, it's de, or if it's plural, it's still de. So it doesn't matter if it's masculine or feminine. That's not a part of whether you can choose negation or not. If it's just negative is all that really is important here. If it's negative and you're using indefinite articles, these are indefinite articles, then this is the pattern you use. So one other thing that your book mentions that I should probably mention is if you're using the inversion, remember inversion, a-t-il un livre? So remember with inversion, there are three ways to ask a question: esque, inversion, and what is the other one? And just intonation. Here, if you ever use inversion, notice that without inversion it's this, il a un livre. That's just asking the question with intonation, that works. But if you ever want to use inversion, and quite often when you're writing a paper, you want to ask a question, you have to use inversion. So sometimes, notice we've basically taken the a, put it here, and the il over here. In other words, we're inverting. If you have two vowels in inversion together, you have to put a T here. It doesn't mean anything. It's just to facilitate the pronunciation, so you don't say a-il. A-t-il is just easier to say. So they put a T here if you have two vowels in inversion. So anytime that is the case, you would do that. So, a-t-il un livre? A-t-elle? Does she have? A-t-elle un stylo or whatever? She doesn't have a pen. Elle n'a pas what? De stylo, right? So that's something to consider. Thank you.